Okay, so this is something that happens every once in a while when you're in the middle of creating a rig and you're doing it by hand. You may accidentally move something or freeze something in the wrong position, or may not have realized that what you created was in a different position. So I'm not sure how this rig was created, but I have an idea of that. These blend shapes here, when they get enabled, if I go here to face shape and I go, you see I'm getting a little bit of motion on each blend shape. And what that tends to come from is if the blend shape target, these are the targets, were moved and then frozen. So I don't know if that's what happened, or to create these shapes, he may have duplicated it, unlocked it. There it is. And then moved it over and started working on it. But one of the things I want you to notice is if I put this back to 0 and I unparent it, you notice I get some values here. So it's possible, if it was created that way, that these duplicates were in a new position from their normal position. So if you're going to duplicate your base geometry to create blend shapes, one of the things you always want to make sure you do is don't have any deformers on that shape. So first off, just start up, turn the clusters off, skin clusters off, turns the face shapes off, blend shapes off. If anything like that, just make sure that's all off. If you've already created it and you're having this issue, what you want to do is re-zero out these guys so they're in the right place, the targets. So what I'm going to do is select all these guys and isolate that. I'm going to open up the secondary outliner so I have just them. So head low is our base shape. I'm going to make sure the skin cluster is off because I want to be in its zeroed out position. And what I should be able to do is just snap align these targets to the head, and they should just, once I freeze them, they should go back to where they need to go. So what I'm going to do is just start with this one here, happy. By default, it's a little bit up in the air. So an old trick you could use is to go into the wireframe and make sure you're in the move tool and hold down, Alt and use the arrow keys, and I'm just really hammering the down arrow key because you can't just hold it like the lead. You gotta hit it. And let's get in really close. So I'm also a little to the left there, or to the right. Alright, so I'm kind of looking for some landmarks to line up with. So I think there may be some scale issue. It's also not aligned in the front view too. So let's bring both these guys into here. I'm going to hit 4. And I'm going to grab that. Which one was it? Happy. Okay. I'm going to grab happy, and I can just slide it. Although, look at that. Alright. It is not going to line up, right? And that's close. But it's definitely not the same. So I think that's coming from that scale. So if you grab the head low here, I'm just going to arrow up. Oh, look, okay. So the top there, I have a value of 1.01. So that's probably adding to the issue here because it's actually scaling that geometry. So if I go back down to, let's see where that position of that scale pivot is. So you don't want to scale happy. Oh, it's actually the same position, so that does work. So if I go in here and do a 1.01 on the scale, and then let's see what happens if we take happy and try and figure out the right positioning. It's lining up a lot better than it was. Let me go here. So scale's a tricky one because there aren't really easy ways. It's a little bit off still. There could be some rotations in there or something like that. Let's go to front view. Definitely off. Okay. Yeah, that scale was throwing me off. And there's definitely something weird going on because that's not lining up the way it should. Let me undo that for a second. I'm going to go top to this group here and put that on 1. There we go. And then I'm going to take happy and put that on 1. And let's see if we get a closer match. Because I feel like I did this before and it lined right up to where it should be. I'm just looking at the upper levels there. Make sure they're both out. Make sure they're of the same smoothing level. So that it does line up the way you want it to. So that's not bad. That's getting close here. And arrow forwards. And you can actually zoom really close in. Whoops. And the more you zoom, the less that motion is going to happen because it's based on screen space. And I'll just sit here and hit that arrow key a ton of times. Okay. And there comes a time when you get too close that it just really isn't doing anything anymore. Now this is because I'm doing it by eye. If you don't do it by eye, it's not so bad. I can show you. I'm going to show you another trick how to get these guys aligned. All right. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to snap all the other guys to match to that same position. So I'll take blink to happy. I'm going to do modified, match transformations, match all transformations. So happy has the same one. Do it again. Hit G. Curious to bored, hit G. Angry to curious, hit G. Sad to angry, hit G. Right? So now they should all have those values on them, which is what I want. And just to show you, let's go back to our head low. I'm going to isolate that for a second. And what I want to show you is that it's still moving, right? And you're like, wait a minute, but we moved them. So what you also need to do is actually freeze transformations on these guys in that location. So I'm going to go ahead and freeze transformations. And now go back to my head low, and hopefully, I'm going to cross my fingers here. Yeah, I'm not going to get all that movement that I had before. So let's zero these guys out. Bored, good. Curious. Okay, curious has some motion. Angry, looks good. Sad, looks good. So curious, there could be more of a scale issue on curious. It's hard to tell. So let's grab curious and bring him into here. So I have the curious and the head low. Make sure I have the others all turned off because I don't want to see them. So let's grab curious here and let's see what's going on. I'm going to go up here. He definitely looks scaled, possibly from the center. So I'm going to center print it on that real quick. And let's just see what happens if I bring it in just a little bit. Again, I'm just eyeballing this. So it's not exact. Oh, that's pretty good though. Pretty happy with that. Let me just see here. And then move him. Check the back of the head. Okay, so the scale needs to be a little bit bigger. Let's go 0.99. And then move him again. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. I'm going to freeze that, and I can move it over. And I can move it over and then scale it and do all these things. As long as I don't, freeze it, it'll be fine. So I'm going to go back here to my face shapes. It was curious. Oh, I'm pretty happy with that. But you still see I have a little tiny bit of motion up there. So there's a couple things I can do. One thing is I can try and snap these guys together. And what that'll do is let Maya do what I was doing by hand. So what you want to do is on the two targets, select them, or you want to select both objects, hit F8 to go to component mode, make sure you are in vertex mode, and you want to find some vertices that are easy to find based on the topology for both of the pieces of mesh here. So I'm just kind of eyeballing here. I'm going to move this over a little bit closer because I am having a hard time finding anything that looks obvious. Oh, okay. So we have this up here that turns into a 5-star up at the top of the head. So there it is there. It's right there and right there. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see if I can do this. I'm going to make sure I'm in vertice mode for both. And there's that weird 5-star. There's that weird 5-star. So I'm going to go spoon, select here, here, and here. So it's the triangle just below. So you want to make sure they're the exact same order and the exact same selection. And I'm going to go to Modify, Snap Align Objects, 3 points to 3 points. And what that's going to do is snap that piece of geometry into the exact same place based on those locations. So you see I have a little tiny value on there. I don't know what that is. I'm going to go ahead and just freeze this and move it back over again. I'll go back to the face shapes here, and oh, well, that was stupid. I had the envelope on when I did the matching. So let's do the matching again. That was really dumb. All right, make sure it's off. Okay, good. Really doesn't matter which ones you select as long as you just select the same ones on both. So 1, 2, 3, right? Here's that same little weird pattern. 1, 2, 3. I think I got the correct ones. Going all blind. Snap a line 3, 3. Good. And let's look at Curious. Curious has a bunch of values on it now. Good. That's what I wanted. So I'll go ahead and freeze that. Now move it over. And now if I go ahead and click the face shapes and hit Curious and turn the envelope on, there we go. Just go to Curious. Oh, that's pretty good. I'm no longer seeing movement here. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that. Now what I'm going to do is take a look at what happens if I move the character. So I'm actually going to show the joints here. Oh, it's got a layer on. So if I take this here, this joint here, and move it, nothing is happening because I turned the skin cluster off. All right, let's turn the skin cluster back on. You see how it shrank back in there? Let me show you that again. So with it selected, see how everything's moving when I turn the envelope on of the skin cluster? That means it was bound and not. Things have been moved since it was bound. So if I brought in a fresh piece of geometry, it would not align to this geometry at all. So you want to make sure that all your joints are at the exact same position they were when you bound it. Otherwise, you're always going to be expecting issues down the line. All right, so turn that on. And if I move the head up to look over here, you're looking over there, dude. And grab that face shape node, blend shape node. Whatever. And I make him happy. All right, it looks good. So it's moving the way it should. So one of the other things I noticed that isn't an issue anymore, but if I right click and open up the all inputs here, you do always want to make sure that your blend shape happens before your cluster. So it's an order of operations. So blend shape will squint the eyes, skin cluster will turn the head. If that's reversed, you'll get something that kind of does something like this. When I go ahead and engage my happy, it's going to put it back to 0. So if you're seeing that happening, you just got to go in here and middle mouse button drag, make sure blend shape happens before skin clusters, and you should be good. I did just want to add 2 other things that might make your life a little bit easier. One is with this snap align. So we know we want to select the same exact vertex every time. It's not always so easy. So one of the things you can do is if you go in here and select these vertices, and then you go to sets and create a quick select set, say I'm going to call it VTX, and then I'm going to go over, and then, so I want to make sure I select the same ones over here. So the thing about that is if you go to script editor, you will see which ones you selected, right? If I can take this and actually make a mel tab, right? And if I go in here, and this head is called head low, right? So if I just hit Control F, I can change happy to head low like that, replace all, and then when I run this, it's going to select those same vertices on the head low, and I'll create another selection set. I'm actually doing it also without scripting, so we'll call this head PTX or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So what I can now do that I've created these sets is I actually can just go in here and select these in order like that and hit the 3-point align. It's going to align it, right? The other thing is, since I have that script in there, if I wanted to do a whole bunch of objects, I can actually go in here and let's just change this back to, I should have left the original. So was it happy like that? Yeah, I think so. Happy happy, right? So if I run this, and actually I want to just change this one to a toggle. I can also use add, which is good, but I'll just make sure I have nothing selected. I'm going to run this little bit of code here, and that basically will just select them in the exact same order. I'm going to hit 3 points, 3 points. It's going to align it just like that. Now the other thing is, you can, sometimes you might end up with some unwanted, I'll just go in here and do something really quick right like that, right? So let's turn off the skin cluster for this example. So let's just say I have no idea how to get rid of that. I can paint it out. I can do stuff like that. Oh, skin cluster off, face shapes on. This is happy. Happy, yep. So go to happy, turn happy on. Let's say we have something unwanted movement, or we want to isolate the movement that is on here. You can do a couple things. One is, within the blendShape editor or shapes editor, you can actually go in here and make that editable, and then you. Where is my paint tool? There we go. Yeah, I'll just hit any of these buttons. It invokes the exact same button. I'm gonna hold down Shift and the right mouse button. Yeah, right mouse button, and go to Erase Target. Sometimes that'll work to get rid of that. The only thing is, I did update my geometry at the same time. All right, so I hope that was helpful. I had some other stuff I wanted to show about cleaning up blend shapes, but I think that'll help for this. And see you next time.